when you get started, what are the biggest challenges or the areas of focuses were you facing?
Sure. For me, first and foremost was executional rigor. We had a pretty big engineering team working on some really amazing stuff, not quite as organized as it could have been. So we helped to establish Scrum and to get the Jira tool up and running with our engineering operations partners, and making sure that it serviced both product and engineering in the right ways, like the handshake there. So that was like the first kind of getting like the runway there to pave that. And then the second biggest task or challenge, if you will, that was asked was, can you help us with the launch process? Launch being not just we're code complete, but how do we interface and collaborate with all of our marketing partners, our sales, our support, everyone who needs to be enabled to make sure that they have the right training, the right processes, communication plans, et cetera, in place. So we spend a lot of time focusing on that and building on that. And obviously everything's also iterative, right? We go back, we inspect, we get better. And then transparency and confidence. How do we tie those two things together and provide visibility, but also gain the confidences of those partners and our leadership and our ability to deliver on our commitments and our promises?
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with what Jackie said. So as I mentioned, coming in, I needed to, because I am a team of one right now, I needed to learn the biggest issues facing our customers, both internal our customer facing teams, and also our external customers. Then once I understood what those friction points were, I needed to prioritize my work and identify where I was starting. So I needed to map what I was going to be working on and rank it in order of priority to be able to tie it back to what value are we delivering to our customers, and both internal and external. So I needed to get buy-in quickly from inside the product organization and outside the product organization to make the changes to the existing process and to adopt new process. And again, this is done by showing the value to them and the outcome. As with any change, people don't necessarily embrace it so quickly. So it's having those recurring check-ins with the leads of the customer success team, the customer support team, the digital transformation team, the engineering team, the product marketing team. So it's continuously socializing my roadmap. It's continuously showing them what I'm working on. And it's also continuously reminding them that I am a team of one. And that's what the biggest challenge was identifying what those focus areas were. And unfortunately saying to some of our team members or some of our teams, I'm not going to work on that today. I'm not going to work on that next. I'll work on that later. And so just having that ability to say that was important.
You're managing your own product ops outcome focus, the roadmap. I know you shared a slide, so I want to just throw it up here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and talk about it now. So the process that I went through is, I think in the first 6 weeks of my role, I sat down and I spoke to every single product manager to understand what their day-to-day looks like and what their friction points were. I then sat and spoke with the teams that collaborate the most with the product managers to understand what their needs are and where they have friction with their the product management team. I was able to listen to them, identify what it is that they needed from product operations, but then it was a matter of ranking it. Like, what do I work on first? That came through a collaboration survey that we did internally, where all of the teams across the company were asked how they work with product, how they collaborate with product management. So then it was a matter of that, really the prioritization itself. And so then I mapped it towards my first OKR, which how do I improve processes within the product team? The first OKR. And then the second one is, how do I improve processes working outward from the product team? And then you see here now what I'm working on now today. When I hang up, this is what I'm working on. So that includes the implementing a product analytics tool. That includes release management gating process, working cross-functionally. It's the product feature request intake process. We have so many requests for the product managers coming in from so many parts of the organization, but how do we vet those? How do we scope those? How do we prioritize those? Then it's what I'm going to be working on next, later, and then delivered. Because I always like to remind myself and others what I've actually delivered year to date.
Right, right. I think Jackie, I think I'm gonna stop sharing here now just so that we can see the speaker's face a little bit better. So I know Jackie, you share something similar to that when we first spoke as well, like your phase 1, phase 2.
Yes. So we've, kind of like I was saying in the last conversation about the focus areas that we've had and at the evolution of or maturity of the product ops organization within the product organization of what are the focus areas and what are like the hottest items now. And Deanna, I really liked what you said, which you didn't say it, but you said it, in that your approach being that you're treating your internal people like customers and having stakeholder interviews and making sure that their voice is kind of driving the things that you're focusing on. So that's a similar approach that we've taken and what's kind of guided those areas that we focused on. And right now we're really, really into the visibility piece, that third challenge that I mentioned, and like getting our roadmap in a place that everybody can digest it and that ladders up to those outcomes so that we can manage in a little bit more of a centralized way is the biggest focus. And I think from there, we'll kind of expand into a little more of how do we handle like product management spillover and like all the different types of little things that they do on a daily basis that we can find ways to automate or optimize or take off their plate in some way in the most effective and efficient way.